What's it doing? All right, go. A recap of the Scott Township Republican Committee meeting. Also, the Trump administration's pushback and what will be their decision against the Syrian gas attacks. Also, Paul Ryan will be stepping down and not seeking re-election. The Comey book tour. Nunes and Gowdy finally able to see the documents that are at the center and the crux of the Russian collusion investigation. Also, Trump's personal attorney's house office are raided by the FBI underneath the Mueller investigation. And Zuckerberg testifies in front of Congress. That and much more today on the Truth Hour.
Something really wrong is going on.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on?
I want the truth.
Good morning, Truth Hour audience. You're on the Truth Hour radio program. My name is Shane Jameson, coming to you live here in Pittsburgh, PA, on a beautiful day. What I would consider actually our first day of spring. The calendar said otherwise, but today feels like what could be the actual first day of spring. It's going to be in the 60s to low 70s with a couple of days just like that. Lows in the 50s. It's going to be beautiful here in the Berg area. I welcome each and every one of you today. I hope every one of you are blessed, and I find you well on this Thursday. Thank you for joining me today, and do me a huge favor. As I'll explain later on in this session, it is very important, guys, for my availability and for my visibility for the Truth Hour, if you would be a huge proponent of that and share this to your wall now. Like this, share this. We also record this. We dump this over onto YouTube, but this is my main platform here on Facebook Live. And because of Facebook's algorithms and search and so on, the ability to have organic results is very paramount. So I would ask that each and every one of my audience here, if you find relevance, if you're one of my my weeklies, my regular audience, or if you're new landing on this page and you find some relevance and you like this, please go ahead and share this. Feel free to add a comment. But even if you don't, whatever you do, share it. So good morning to everybody that's on here. Looks like my daughter's on. Good morning to you, sweetie, way out in El Paso, Texas. Kelly's on. Good morning to you, Kelly. Thank you so much. You're slowly but surely becoming one of my Truth Hour faithfuls, and I appreciate that. Look forward to your insight and your opinions and comments every week. Very insightful, very engaging. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. So we have a jam-packed session this morning. A lot. It's like I always think every week can't get any more, like jam-packed. It can't get any more exciting. It can't get any more, jaw-dropping or nail-biting. This week might very well top all the rest. Unbelievable stuff going on. I'm going to start out kind of on an exciting note and a personal note before we dive into the national political side of things. I was able to attend Scott Township's Republican committee meeting, monthly committee meeting last night up here in Carnegie, and joined with a couple of good friends that I met through my son Cooper. And if you look their screen right, joined there with Michael Guido and Joe Bumbraw. They are with the Scott Township Republican Committee, and I believe Joe on the far right chairs that. He just took that job. And then Michael Guido there. Very, very knowledgeable young men in the political scene. I actually did about a 3 to 5 minute interview. I don't really have time to air that in its entirety, so I just elected to go ahead and have some still pics there. And also, Rose Tennant, formerly of Quinn and Rose, which is a local conservative radio talk show host. She's very phenomenal, and was able to meet her. She was a guest speaker there at the meeting last evening, and got a picture with her. She's here in the local Pittsburgh market. I think she's in between and fixing to be signing up to be back on the air as well. But she was and has been very inspirational in my life. When I first moved to Pittsburgh about 5 years ago, was searching for conservative radio stations, and Quinn and Rose was on at the time, and really grew close to her program and stayed in touch with the political scene through Quinn and Rose. So it was a very neat opportunity to meet Rose, tenant there last night, and she was very kind, very gracious, very open, and discussed some things. So wish her the best of luck as well. So yeah, that meeting was awesome. We discussed upcoming elections and various situations, and then I did an interview with Michael Guido and Joe Bumbraw related to the current status of where Rick Saccone sees himself going here in the congressional run, and we kind of touched base on the he got snubbed out there kind of last minute by Connor Lamb. It looks like he is going to be running again here in the midterms for Congress, and the district maps here have been all chopped up and redrawn, so that's yet to be determined exactly how all that falls out. But I'll tell you something that always kind of what last night showed me at this meeting is that I'm always very focused on the national side of things. I'm very entrenched and I'm very knowledgeable on the national side of things, I think. But these two young men that I interviewed last night, along with just the meeting in general, proved to me that, let me tell you something, the grassroots guys in your local communities and municipalities, your districts, if you may, are very important. Elections are won and lost in these smaller category type situations that reflect on the overall national stage. So, if you're into politics, I suggest you get to know your local politicians, your local representatives. I am way behind the curve on that, and discussing this with Michael Guido and Joe Bumbraw last night pretty much confirm that with me. They're very knowledgeable, and they're half my age. Joe's just out of high school, and Michael is a senior along with my son. They're good friends there at Chartiers Valley. So, man, very well spoken, sharp individuals, sharp young men. Pleasure to interview them. Pretty short and sweet there. I did post that to my Facebook feed, guys, if you actually want to watch that video in its entirety. So, awesome time, and I look forward to. Now I'm part of that committee. I'm actually going to be joining that every month and participating in helping the local, the grassroots movement for the local politicians that uphold our conservative values. So that was a true blessing. So I will go ahead and keep you updated as things go on with that, but let's dive into some more pressing information here. The Trump administration is weighing options as we speak, and I don't know, and I haven't looked at Fox in the last and kept up with the live feeds on stuff in the last about an hour and a half, so I don't know, but the clock was ticking. President Trump come out and put a pretty thick red line in the sand stating that Assad and the Syrian regime had crossed a line yet again, gassed its own people. We have all but conclusive evidence of that. And the Trump administration is set to respond any second. And also I found this amazing. There's been this tit for tat. Russia's always in there trying to say, if we ever come out and if America ever does any kind of attack and sends the missiles in, we will shoot them down. Well, that's hilarious because look at what Trump tweeted. It just made me stand up and shout. I think it's awesome. Read that tweet. Russia vows to shoot down any and all missiles fired at Syria. Get ready, Russia, because they will be coming, nice and new and smart. You shouldn't be partners with a gas-killing animal who kills his people and enjoys it. Let me tell you something. President Trump will go down as one of the most poignant and straight-through, just cuts through all the fluff and buff and tells it how it is. I don't always agree with his policy on Twitter, the way that he does these things. In fact, to me, personally, a better way to have handled this was, if he was pressed on so what's your thoughts, President Trump, on this gas attack? He should just condone it. Say, not condone it. I actually, I abhorred this, and and then call out who he thinks is responsible. He thinks that Russia is partially responsible for that. He also knows that Syria is responsible and Assad. So, condemn it and call it for what it is, and then kind of just be quiet about it. And then whatever results of that happen. Unfortunately, regardless, he's going to do something about it, but he's pretty much went out and done exactly what he says he doesn't like to do, and that's telegraph responses, and I'm not real big on that. He shouldn't be, telegraphing exactly what we're going to do. I think the world knows. The only difference being here, if Russia didn't have assets on the ground over there in some capacity, there wouldn't have been this huge 48, 60-hour plus 72-hour situation where the window of time has been since the attack. I think out of courtesy for the contentious situation in Syria is with all these moving parts, with Russian assets and our air power going in and out of that at 24/7, that out of sheer respect for averting a possible conflict on that side of things, he decided to go ahead and do a little telegraphing, and also has probably behind the scenes told Russia, you better get your guys out. If you're on these airfields, if you got assets with any kind of aircraft or anything that you don't want damaged or destroyed, we're coming, and we're coming soon. You better get out of there. That's the only reason he did this. The only reason. So, a couple of things I think he could have done differently. It doesn't matter. In a matter of hours, I think we're fixing to light Syria up. I think their airfields are all fixing to be destroyed, and what was left, I think we destroyed about 1/5 of Assad's air force. The first month that Trump took office, whenever he gassed people that time, and Trump didn't say nothing. He just lit them up with about 50 to 100 Tomahawk cruise missiles. But the thing about it is you can't really destroy airfields and runways with Tomahawks. They're not ideal for that. We need actual big, high-range bombers, U-2 bombers and B-2 bombers, stuff like that, stealth. I mean, we need a lot of assets like that. So I can guarantee it's probably going to be a combination of both. But something else that's very telling in this, I think we're going to have a coalition this time. This will not be just a United States preemptive strike or a strike here on Assad. This is not going to happen. I believe there's going to be other assets involved, which is going to send an even stronger message to Assad and also to Russia that they are messing with the wrong people at the wrong time and, gassing their people. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. So welcome to everybody again. Let me do a quick plug. You're on the Truth Hour radio program. I come to you live every Thursday morning here in Pittsburgh, PA. Please like this, share it. If you don't mind, put it on your wall. Trying to get some organic traction guys, third and fourth generations. If you have it on your wall, then somebody might see it and like it that doesn't even know me. I would appreciate that. I'm trying to grow my base. I've constantly been getting a little bit more traction here every week, and I appreciate you guys. It's all because of you. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just sitting here. If I didn't have an audience, guys, an audience that cared about promoting me, this would be dead in the water. So please keep up the good work and the strong fight. Keep trying to promote this, and I will keep trying to do my best to bring relevance to you. Back to Assad, I do have one side of the coin I want everybody in my audience to consider. Even the Obama administration fell guilty to this trap, and the world community as a whole. Chemical weapons are an absolute atrocity. Let's make no quarrels about that. No, that is hands down. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. That's not even a discussion topic. And I don't have the exact research to know this, guys, but I want you to actually think about this in true context. How many Syrians have died from chemical weapons attacks since the Syrian civil war started? If anybody knows, feel free to stick it on there. I'll do some more due diligence to see what I can find out. But I'm going to say I think it's less than a couple of hundred. Maybe 3. I think it's less than that. Okay, so think about this. Mentally put this in your mind and think about this in 2 categories. This war's been going on for over 5 years. There's well over 500 million casualties, 500 million deaths in the Syrian civil war. 500 million, guys. Okay? Versus the other category of less than a few hundred gas attack deaths. Why is it that the world community is apparently okay with the mass genocide of a people topping over 500 million people now and still climbing every day? Why is the world as a whole, a collective, including the United States of America, just like they're a gasp when a couple of barrel bombs drop with chlorine gas or sarin and people are dying in the streets and a few, and some youth and men, women, and children both are gasping for air and dying? A horrible death. It is horrible. But why does that gel the global community get together instantly, but we sit back with conventional weapon deaths that number over 500 million? To me, that's huge hypocrisy. It's huge hypocrisy. And not minimizing the gas attacks, but in my opinion, here's the thing: that the Obama administration should have acted, 6 years ago or more, before this ever got off the ground. And when Obama did, I talk about it all the time. I won't regurgitate it here, but they come out and draw the biggest red line in the world that was drawn with a crayon. And Assad called his bluff on it, gassed his people. Obama and his administration buried his head in the sand. And good morning to you, Lauren. Thanks, sir, for being on. Yeah, you actually woke up. I'll bake you a brownie. So I appreciate you, sir. Hey, Jack's on. We got the duo. We got the Fritz duo on today. We got Kelly and Jack. Man, I'm blessed. Thanks, guys, for being on. So Jack, if you just got on, just kind of touching base here, kind of going over the Syrian attack, the gas attack, and what we believe that the Trump administration's response to that will be. I believe personally it's going to be a coalition response. I believe it's going to be, a combination of multiple countries are going to get together, and I think that combined with the fact that there were Russian assets on the ground in Syria is the reason that there's been this delay. Make no mistakes, if there hadn't been Russians in the theater and this had been just an ISIS/Syrian, war and all this is going on, there wouldn't have been much of a warning. I can guarantee you there would have been a strong response already. So if it wasn't for Russian assets there and a respect by this administration for the potential for, an unintentional engagement with Russia, there would already be a response for these gas attacks. So, I think while I don't believe that the way that the president came out and telegraphed kind of what he said, and he's tweeting about it, he's talking about it, he's doing all that, but that's, but yet again, hey, let Trump be Trump. Let Trump be Trump. And so, look for that, guys. I mean, stay tuned to your local news organizations. I watch Fox. I'll stay tuned on that. It's big. So, big stuff coming. He will put a size 12 in Assad's butt in a matter of hours. Okay, so let's move on, guys. Got a jam-packed session. Loved it. I made myself a deal. I wasn't going to get long-winded on any topic today. I'm very bad about that. I'm passionate about everything I talk about. So the downfall of that is I ramble for the better part of an hour and then run out of time to get my full session in. So let's pivot over here. Not pivot, transition. Pivots for Democrats. Let's transition over to Paul Ryan. Stepping down. He's not going to be seeking re-election. Big news yesterday, and might I say, horrible timing. I do not. I for one, let's make the record straight. I consider Paul Ryan a rhino. He's a Republican in name only. His track record with this administration and the line that he's towed has proven such. For the most part. Now, is Paul Ryan, a good man? Is he, in a lot of ways, a good conservative and a strong Republican and stands up for conservative values in most of his endeavors? Yes, I believe he is. But he has not served this administration to its fullest because of some of his actions and inactions. So, but with that said, under any other circumstances at any other time, maybe the fact that he doesn't seek re-election or he steps down, leaving that seat open, is probably at any other time not near an eyebrow raiser as it is right now. Because one, he isn't the first. I mean, we got Trey Gowdy that just announced this here a few weeks ago. He's stepping aside. He won't be seeking re-election. Love Trey Gowdy. Oh my gosh. But I think Trey Gowdy's future is going to be brighter than where it is currently, and it's hard to believe because we need somebody like that in there, along with Devin Nunes and all the I forget all their names. Jim Jordan. There's a number of others that come to mind that are just true patriots when it comes to holding the deep state and the swamp accountable, especially through this atrocity that is the Mueller probe and such. So timing is horrible. I mean, we're just months out of the midterms here. And there's speculation that he might have saw the writing on the wall, didn't know if he'd actually get reelected if he ran, and he's just kind of getting ahead of that and doing damage control. I don't see it that way, and I think he probably could have been reelected. Not that I would necessarily be there to promote that or actually be behind that. There is a lot of other individuals, and we'll talk about two that are actually going to be front runners for this seat that I think could be doing a lot better job, both of which are Mr. McCarthy and Steve Scalise. And I'm sure all of you are very well aware that Steve Scalise, man, he's a true patriot. He's a true conservative in every sense of the word, and he's got a lot of name recognition just for one absolutely kind of horrible thing that ended up being an amazingly inspiring thing, is the fact that he went through that horrible shooting, was almost killed. at that congressional baseball game here a number of months ago. Spent like months in the hospitals. Shattered his pelvis. Had multiple gunshot wounds, and was on. I think he was in critical condition for a good while. They didn't know if he's ever going to pull through. Yet the man's walking again, all but walking. He has crutch assisted, but he's back to full capacity in his job role. I mean, that gentleman inspires me every day. So Steve Scalise and Mr. McCarthy there, both good candidates for this position that Paul Ryan will be vacating. And so the next question is how does this unfold? Will they go ahead and have some kind of heart-to-heart with Paul Ryan, with the president, everybody getting together there and saying, hey, what would be best for the party? In my opinion, they need to get ahead of this now rather than later. I think they need to have some kind of a situation where maybe Paul, he's already stating that he's telegraphed that he wants to fill his term to its full completeness and then have somebody come in and basically be voted in. But I don't see that being probably in the party's best interest. If we wait and allow Paul Ryan to mature his full term, while that's great for Paul Ryan, we're leaving us shorthanded getting somebody in there and getting unity behind the party. We need the leader to be the leader and be in there. So if there's any second guessing with Paul Ryan, and there is because he's wanting to step down, not seek re-election, then we have a little bit of a conflict of interest here and a bit of a crisis. So I'm not certain how it unfolds, but we will keep you abreast of kind of what happens there. So big news yesterday, horrible timing yet again. Not a big Paul Ryan fan, but kind of keeping that together was probably the best course of action. So, but either way, it's water in the bridge. We know where we stand now, and that's what we're going to do. So, yet again, guys, please like and share this. Share this to your wall now. It's a simple click, guys. If some of you are on the fence, I see 7 or more people on currently. Please share this to your wall and then ask your friends to share it. If you've got a conservative base, friends, and stream or theme throughout your wall, and you know that you've got some friends who will do this, tag them in it, ask them to review it and share it. Guys, share it now. I'm asking you. After I go through some other stuff, after we talk about Zuckerberg's testimony in front of Congress, I want to discuss briefly what I know is fact about the bias and the clear bias and censorship that it's very true that Facebook engages in, guys. So they do it every day. They censor and silence very good, staunch conservatives. And guys, I consider myself one. And there's ways around the algorithms that they have for search. There's ways around that. And sharing my page to your page is one of them. So help me battle that. Share me now. Okay? The Comey book tour. We're gonna march through this session, guys. I'm not gonna dwell too long on any one given topic. The Comey book tour is coming to theaters near you any day. Similar to the Hillary Clinton excuse tour, except in the fact that Comey, possibly through his book, is going to start lining out reasons and aligning himself with and unaligning himself with others. His book is more or less a manifesto on exactly what he did and why he did it, probably to offset and to overt, what's upcoming as far as legal action from what's bound to be some criminal activity undertaken by Comey and a lot of the other higher-ups in the FBI and the DOJ as time unfolds here, and we'll get into that. So, we'll recap. Comey was fired by Trump. They're using that as some kind of some kind of plea, or the left is in the swamp that he obstructed justice. It's an absolute joke. The President of the United States has every constitutional right within his constitutional right to fire Mueller, not to fire. He does have the actual constitutional ability to fire Mueller too, but Comey. So he let Comey go and sent him packing. And there was no obstruction there, and that's what the left is still trying to tout. And Mueller's actually still trying to play that game too. We'll dive into further details of that as we get into the truth hour here. But the true crime family here, guys, is what we see coming up. Okay? You want to talk about a true crime family. So I think excerpts out of the book or on the interview, they're actually coming up. Comey is with Stephanopoulos, I believe, and on CBS. It's an upcoming aired interview, and you have to look for it, guys. Comey calls President Trump and the Trump administration the equivalent of a mob family, of a mob boss. I find that laughable. You guys want to see what a true crime family is? Take a look to this collage that I have on screen right. These are true crime families. You have the Comey crime family on the left, top left. You have the Clinton crime family on the top right. And you got the Mueller crime family, which is currently enacted and going on as we speak. This is what corruption looks like. This is what undermining of this constitutional democracy looks like. This is what criminality looks like and is. This is not President Trump. President Trump is fighting for his very life every single day. President Trump is fighting for his political life every single day, alone in the Oval Office, placed there by the voters of this great country. The electoral vote pushed President Trump over the top. I don't care if the majority went to Hillary Clinton. I could care less. Our electoral system is in place for a reason, and President Trump won this election fair and square. When will the D.C. swamp and the far left in this country accept that? Answer, never. But it doesn't matter. Look at what President Trump has done with the weight of half or three-quarters of the political party sitting on his back, putting cement boots on him every day to try to clog down his administration and his agenda. Yet he's accomplished in the upper 60s to low 70s as a percentage of his agenda set forth by the Heritage Foundation, as what they would deem a conservative president to do. President Trump has accomplished in his first year and a half nearly 70 to 75% of his agenda in the first year and a half of what will be a total 8-year presidency. Are you kidding me? That is phenomenal. Why don't we hear it? Why doesn't the media ever proclaim that? Why is it only Fox that says it? Why doesn't the left ever talk about his accomplishments? Why don't they talk about the tax cuts? Why don't they talk about our strong foreign policy? Why don't they talk about a strong border? Why don't they talk about all the stuff that is successful in this country? And why won't they stop talking about Stormy Daniels? Why won't they stop talking about collusion that hasn't been proven? Why won't they start talking about the mountain of evidence that is the Hillary Clinton scandal, the Uranium One scandal, the Fast and Furious scandal, the IRS scandal, the Obama scandal that is currently going on, that reaches all the way up to where his Oval Office was and his footsteps were? That is this current witch hunt. Why won't they ever talk about the truth and the proof that is that? Because they don't want to. Because they hate the man. That's the facts. They can't stand the man. They can't stand his agenda. And each one of them opens up their paychecks every other week too and has more money in it because this man got off his duff and came into office and did exactly what he campaigned on. But yet they'll take that money and then get on social media and on Twitter and on their websites and slam and berate and hate this man. This man's made us more safe in 10 or 15 years than Obama ever conceived or dreamed of. Of course, he didn't ever dream of making us safer. He wanted to make us more vulnerable, and he wanted to apologize. So, there's your true crime families. Do not be persuaded by the left. The Trump administration is doing good work. I would dare say faithful and godly work to purge what is happening in this administration, not in this administration, but in this D.C. swamp, in this, insider type, I scratch your back, you scratch mine type of situation, and all the Obama holdovers, right? Trump's doing good work, tough work, inch by inch, foot by foot, day by day, not given an inch, not given a foot, not given a day. Has done everything he's had to do by the sweat of his brow, sometimes pulling and towing his own party behind him that refused to support the man. I fully support President Trump. He's doing good works. Next, Nunes finally, and Trey Gowdy, finally given permission, finally given access to a 2-page document, ladies and gentlemen, that is at the center and the crux of the initial starter phase of the Russian investigation. Had been subpoenaed for 8 months. Subpoenaed for 8 months. Devin Nunes threatened subpoena, and then if the subpoena deadline was not upheld, threatened impeachment and legal ramifications on Rosenstein and Christopher Wray. And let me, before we push play on this video that I've got that actually puts Nunes's point front and center and clarifies it a little bit better than I can. Let's look at the hypocrisy real quick about what's happening. Millions of pages of documents have been transferred over to the Mueller investigation for this witch hunt of a probe. Millions. Okay? The GOP and the people that are fighting for the right side of this, Devin Nunes, Trey Gowdy, Jim Jordan, amongst others, have been only handed over about 3,000 individual documents of over 1.1 to 1.3 million. Do you not see the discrepancy there? Why is the DOJ and the FBI slow-walking all of this? And here, let me make another point. Devin Nunes and Trey Gowdy, they have the same level of clearance as far as top-secret clearance and ability to see top-secret documents that the very people that are holding it back have. They literally have the legal right and authority to walk into the DOJ, to walk into the FBI, pull up top secret and classified documents that are highly redacted, and see the unredacted versions of those this second. They have the legal right to see it. Yet they've been stonewalled and prohibited from seeing documents surrounding and related to why this witch hunt ever got off the ground. And then, after a subpoena deadline that was last night, they were given last-minute access to this document. But their subpoena was to see the unredacted document that shows why this ever got off the ground. And the audacity of the Swamp and Rosenstein and Ray. Do you know what they provided, Trey Gowdy and Nunes? Do you know what they provided them? Yet again, another redacted version. That is adding insult to injury. This is ridiculous. We'll get into this in a minute too. Mueller is raiding people's houses. Mueller is seizing people's stuff. Mueller raided Manafort's office. Mueller raided Cohen's office, his personal home, and his personal office in Trump Tower. Raided it. Let me tell you whose stuff needs to be raided. Let me tell you whose stuff needs to be seized. All of the email and text communications between Rosenstein and Comey and Mueller's and Obama's and Holder's and Lynch's and Strzok's and Page's and all of the others and Susan Rice. Why ain't the FBI knocking down doors over there? Why ain't the FBI knocking down Hillary Clinton's doors? Why ain't they seizing, demanding, pulling every single thing that they have? That's what needs to be seized. That's what needs to be raided. Yet, cooperation fully on the right, cooperation fully with Trump, cooperation fully with his legal counsel, and they get raided? It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. So Nunes comes in, finally gets a redacted version of what he has, and we've got a short video here, and we're going to listen to that right now.
They're not giving this to us, tells me there's something wrong here.
What are the chances you're going to hold them in contempt of Congress right now?
Well, I can just tell you that we're not going to just hold in contempt. We will have a plan to hold in contempt and to impeach.
To impeach Christopher Wray?
Absolutely.
Rod Rosenstein?
We're not messing around here.
Despite the 11th hour resolution, Fox News is told that congressional investigators remain concerned about the memo's underlying intelligence and the credibility of the sources, and that it will require further.
Yeah, so guys, if you saw that, yeah, Nunes ain't messing around anymore. And I'm going to say one thing. That's great that they're finally getting off their backside, their duff, and doing something that means something. But it's almost like a day late and a dollar short. And to me, that's, I'm glad that they're doing it. But let me tell you what I see happening here. Guys, this has been on, since President Trump swore in, there has been a crossroads. There has been a crossroads, and there's been a goal line that is being sought on both sides of the aisle. The left in this country want, in the deep state, there is a fight to prove the truth through the Nuneses, through the Jim Jordans, through the Trey Gowdys that are coming out, through Judicial Watch that comes out and sues for Freedom of Information Act and tries to get stuff that should be readily available, that's being slow-walked to us. 1.3 million documents, we've only been given 3,000. What a joke. Okay? There is a fight in this country, and on this side, you've got the fight for justice. And the goal line for that is Horowitz's report and much other information that shows the true corruption of the Hillary campaign and the way that was fixed and the way that the witch hunt was set underway against Trump. Okay, you've got that race. We're trying to get that. We're trying to get all the information out to the public on that. At the same time, almost at a parallel type race or beat or line, is the deep state trying to get everything and anything they can, literally going for broke, selling out every single option that they got that they would never do under any other circumstance, to try to get something on Trump to get him out of the way before this side reaches the finish line. Guys, if this side reaches the finish line, if justice is served and truth is shown for what it is, this side over here is destined to fail. And that's what's happening here. We have to keep in our prayers, and we have to be diligent. We got to be sticking to our guns, literally and figuratively. We have to be standing up for truth and what's just and what's right, and we got to be declaring the truth about this every day. We got to be on social media discussing the facts. We got to be promoting it to our friends and family. We got to be discussing it. We have to be on the right side of this. So they get to see this. They get to finally see this memo, but it's redacted. Well, it's simple why it's redacted. They know that it's incriminating, but it doesn't matter, because when Horowitz is, I believe, or Dershowitz or Horowitz, I can't remember. There's so many itzes, and Alan Dershowitz, dadgummit, I can't remember the law professor that is a commentator on Fox News. I get so confused. But either way, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to keep going. But either way, this is still a redacted version, so they take a half a step forward, but then when they see the document, they take 3 steps back. They're still not being transparent. And then Christopher Wray gets on this and says, oh, well, I'm going to hire some more people that's going to be over the fact of upping that production of documents. It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. They don't have to be processed through. I'm sick of this redacted crap. They need to go in there and seize this stuff. They need to go in there and they need to raid. I'll tell you what they need to do. The DOJ needs to be raided, and the FBI needs to be raided, and it can be done. They can take federal marshals over there, and they can seize what's rightfully available, what they've asked to see, that 1.3 million minus the 3,000. They can go over there and take it right now. And if you want to say that they can't, I dare say that attorney-client privilege just got slaughtered when Mueller decided to have the FBI raid his personal attorney's office and home, along with another office in Trump Towers. Attorney-client privilege in this country has been slaughtered in front of our very eyes, and we act like that there's nothing wrong with that. Guys, that's one of the most sanctimonious rights that we have in this country. Attorney-client privilege. It's been gutted. It's been absolutely gutted. And yet silence on the left, right? And very few people actually know what that is. Oh, attorney-client privilege, like, oh, butterflies are flying. It's a wonderful, bright, sunny day. No, attorney-client privilege. If the President of the United States of America can have his personal attorney's house and 2 offices raided in the wee hours of the morning, and classified attorney-client privilege information is seized on probable cause only, we are at a dark moment in this country, ladies and gentlemen. A dark point in this country. Now, you might want to be asking why that happened. I'll tell you why it happened. A lot of people are on the left saying, oh, yeah, he went after a Stormy Daniels payment. They want to know what Stormy Daniels payment was, if there was truth to it. Mueller's not after Stormy Daniels payment, whether or not it happened. It's been confirmed, even by Cohen himself, that a payment was made in the amount of $130,000 to another account that was then transferred to an attorney of Stormy Daniels, subsequently paid to Stormy Daniels. I think everybody with common sense and brain cells knows exactly what that was for. And yet again, we didn't elect President Trump to be preacher-in-chief. We elected him to be commander-in-chief. Everybody that cast a vote for him was not swindled or had the wool pulled over their eyes that he was some kind of, holier-than-thou person. And I'm not saying that I don't wish that he was more moral man. Yes, I do. But I didn't hire the man personally with my vote to be a preacher in chief and be a moral in chief. I hired him to do a job. He's doing the job. So make no mistake, Mueller is not looking to go in there, but here's what they're doing. That is the probable cause. And also he referred it to another judge whom, upon reviewing supposed evidence, signed off on, along with Rosenstein, and granted a warrant for the raid. Okay? So you notice why Mueller didn't directively do it underneath his umbrella of what? The scope of the investigation. He did that on purpose because he knows that initially and actually and practically it doesn't fall under the scope or the parameters of the Russian collusion investigation. You guys, you got to stay up on this. So why did he hand the baton to another court to then, with evidence, to then give the go ahead? Because now guess what happened? They went under probable cause for like a Stormy Daniels payment, and they seized everything personal that had anything to do with Cohen and Trump, going back to the fullest extent of the Trump-Cohen relationship. Now guess what the FBI and the court system has full access to? Unjustly, mind you. They have access to every single personal transaction, business transaction, anything that has to do with Trump/Cohen/ anything else that Cohen had privilege or knowledge of or had record of that they seized. But then they've got this dirty team, clean team scenario. When an FBI raid goes in, they see something, you got a clean team and a dirty team. And I'm probably going to butcher this, but I listened up on it and I studied up on it. They then have to turn this over to a dirty, clean team, and one team declares what they are looking for that's a part of the warrant, and the other team declares whether or not that falls in that category or outside. If it falls outside of that category, it's set over here in this category. It's not supposed to be used in the investigation. But guess what happens in that determination process? It's being read by somebody, by a panel. Okay? Do you think that process is sanctified and holier than thou and that they actually keep to that process? Are you kidding me? No, they won't do that. So they seize every single business transaction and everything going back to the culmination and genesis of the Cohen-Trump relationship for years. They now have access to those business dealings, those personal dealings, those individual dealings. Fill in the blank. A to Z, they've got it. It doesn't matter if it fell under the parameter of the warrant or not. They still have it, pending a clean and dirty team scrutiny, of which it didn't matter because for somebody to determine whether or not it's clean or dirty, somebody had to read it. So what do you think that person or that panel or those groups of people, of which most of Mueller's team are all Democratic donors, who knows what this other impaneled court, situation with this judge will do? Are we supposed to trust the system? The same system that lied to a FISA court to get a warrant to go through Page to get Trump in this position to begin with? Oh, but we're supposed to sit back and trust the process. What a joke. So they got everything on Trump, even if it's 100% legal. It doesn't matter. They now have more knowledge on him than he knows about that he has on himself. And it's illegal. It's all illegal. It's absolutely illegal. And I've been listening to a lot of people on Fox that say there's ways to counter this. There's ways to go in and say that this wasn't legal, and there's a chain of command and a process that he could undertake to get this reversed or to get it slowed down or minimized. But guys, why would Mueller do this at this point? It's simple. He has nothing. He's had nothing, and he has and will not ever have nothing as it relates to his mandate. So what he did is he took something and referred it to another court judge that then had enough evidence to sign off on a warrant that Rosenstein had a part in, that then gave a warrant to the FBI to go seize all this. It did not fall under Mueller's parameters, yet Mueller referred it to a judge to have it done. Look at the craziness. Look at the off the wall, off the rail, off the hinge, outside the parameters, rogue state of this investigation. And then at the center of this that most people are overlooking, the attorney-client privilege is all but decimated in this. I mean, guys, if anybody ever felt safe around anybody, you might not feel safe around your wife. You might not feel like conversations are safe around your buddy. You might not feel like confidential information with your coworker or your boss or a church or anything is confidential. But in this country, in this great country, attorney-client privilege has always been one of those hands-off, sanctified, very, very, very protected statuses in this country. And Mueller just literally took a dump all over that. He literally took a dump all over the attorney-client privilege status in this country. Every one of you listening to my voice today in this country should be shocked and in awe of that, and should be a little scared. If they can do this to the President of the United States, who are you? We're peons. We're peons. So that's where that stands. I got a little long-winded on that. Lots that needs to be unpacked on that, guys, and I'll bring you more as that unfolds. Zuckerberg testifies. This, ladies and gentlemen, was huge. Zuckerberg testified in front of Congress. Am I still on? Zuckerberg testified in front of Congress yesterday and the day before, I believe, regarding I forget the company's name that was actually front and center in this, but it doesn't matter. There was accusations of data being sold, or unbeknownst to 80+ million Facebook users, that they had inadvertently signed away their rights, allowed this company to access their data for political reasons. And he's on basically, oh, mind you, not under oath. He wasn't sworn in. I think that's an absolute joke. Why is it that everybody on the left and the sixth richest person in the world that owns the biggest monopoly, you might say, in the world outside of Google or YouTube is not placed under oath? And why do they get all these freebies? I don't know. Maybe you can answer that. Anyways, Zuckerberg sits down in front of Congress. Fireworks, and somebody that finally hit home with what I've always considered that YouTube and Facebook engages in. They engage in bias very frequently and censorship, and they cloak it under their own personal political bias, and they say that it's for the betterment of the audience, or that something, if it's just politically not expedient for what they believe, 9 times out of 10, they can categorize it as hate, they can categorize it as violent, and they do not have to explain their positions, and people's pages are shut down, people's fundraisers are shut down, people that have over 1 million followers like Diamond and Silk are shut down, people that want to promote their conservative values are censored, minimized, and their visibility on these two platforms are shut down every day. Listen to what Senator Ted Cruz had to say about that.
Blumenthal, Senator Cruz. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Zuckerberg, welcome. Thank you for being here. Mr. Zuckerberg, does Facebook consider itself a neutral public forum?
Senator, we consider ourselves to be a platform for all ideas.
Let me ask the question again. Does Facebook consider itself to be a neutral public forum? And representatives of your company have given conflicting answers on this. Are you a First Amendment speaker expressing your views, or are you a neutral public forum allowing everyone to speak?
Senator, here's how we think about this. I don't believe that there is certain content that clearly we do not allow, right? Hate speech, terrorist content, nudity, anything that makes people feel unsafe in the community. From that perspective, that's why we generally try to refer to what we do as a platform for all ideas. Let me try, just because the time is constrained.
It's just a simple question. The predicate for Section 230 immunity under the CDA is that you are a neutral public forum. Do you consider yourself a neutral public forum, or are you engaged in political speech, which is your right under the First Amendment?
Well, Senator, our goal is certainly not to engage in political speech. I'm not that familiar with the specific legal language of the law that you speak to, so I would need to follow up with you on that. I'm just trying to lay out how broadly I think about this.
Well, Mr. Zuckerberg, I will say there are a great many Americans who I think are deeply concerned that Facebook and other tech companies are engaged in a pervasive pattern of bias and political censorship. There have been numerous instances with Facebook. In May of 2016, Gizmodo reported that Facebook had purposely and routinely suppressed conservative stories from trending news, including stories about CPAC, including stories about Mitt Romney, including stories about the Lois Lerner IRS scandal, including stories about Glenn Beck. In addition to that, Facebook has initially shut down the Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day page, has blocked a post of a Fox News reporter, has blocked over 24 Catholic pages, and most recently blocked Trump supporters Diamond and Silk's page with 1.2 million Facebook followers after determining their content and brand were, quote, unsafe to the community. To a great many Americans, that appears to be a pervasive pattern of political bias. Do you agree with that assessment?
Senator, let me say a few things about this. First, I understand where that concern is coming from because Facebook and the tech industry are located in Silicon Valley, which is an extremely left-leaning place. And this is actually a concern that I have and that I try to root out at the company, is making sure that we don't have any bias in the work that we do. And I think it is a fair concern that that people would at least wonder about.
Let me ask this question. Are you aware of any ad or page that has been taken down from Planned Parenthood?
Senator, I'm not, but let me just...
How about MoveOn.org?
Sorry?
How about MoveOn.org?
I'm not specifically aware of those.
How about
cases.
any Democratic candidate for office?
I'm not specifically aware. I mean, I'm not sure.
In your testimony, you say that
yeah, guys, so we are back on here. Yeah, after listening to Zuckerberg testify there, Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, absolutely spot on and poignant. Welcome for being on, guys. I saw a couple more people chime in here, and thanks for your comments, Lauren. You're on the Truth Hour radio program. Please like and share this. We're right in the middle after being through a lot of other topics. We are front and center with Mark Zuckerberg's testimony in front of Congress. Powerful stuff there. Cruz put him to task on this. There's no way around it. Clear bias, clear censorship. When you've got all of these referenced Facebook sites and pages being either minimized, their exposure not being available through search, their exposure being minimized or deleted on people's walls, their pages being shut down entirely, right? Ted Cruz, he come out of the gate with a number of good examples. A Chick-fil-A page that was a conservative situation. Diamond and Silks. Guys, and you want to talk about the audacity. And Facebook's all about money. Guys, they even shut down Diamond and Silk's page. I don't know if it's back up, but they even shut it down. 1.1 or 1.2 or 3 million followers. That's a cash cow for Facebook, targeting those followers. I mean, that's what this is all about for Facebook. The more followers you have, the more insights you have, the more you can target that audience, make more money. It's simple. But even under this, you can see that Facebook's agenda even trumps their ability and their lust and their greed for money. They will go far-reaching and put out more effort to censor you than they would to try to make a buck off of you. Right? And at the very end there, and he has no foreknowledge of any page being diluted or minimized or deleted of Planned Parenthoods, of MoveOn.orgs, of any specific or known Democratic candidate or party. That's funny, because you can do check on all of those on the conservative side. Guys, it's a clear double standard. I think if anything comes out of this testimony of not just the right to your privacy and your data, but the senator and the individuals on Congress there that stepped up and put Zuckerberg to task on these specific items far outweighs the privacy of data, because this is a platform where people want to share their views. I'm a conservative on here today live sharing my political views, and I do not want to be censored. I am speaking to the best of my knowledge, the truth and the facts about what I currently believe are the state of affairs in this country. I believe in what I think. I believe in the things that I say, and I do a lot of work and due diligence to back that up. And I don't get on here to spew hate. I don't get on here to spew bitterness and vile. I'm on here to discuss truth and facts and to promote the truth, guys. So, like, who knows? I could be next. I don't have a big enough audience. I'm sure if the Truth Hour radio program, numbered in the thousands every time it came on, I'm sure I'd probably fall underneath that algorithm. But guys, Dennis Prager. There's a number of people that have shows on here that have Facebook Live. Jay Sekulow. They all say it about every other time they're on. Please like or share this to go around and to offset the Facebook algorithms. Facebook sets you up to fail a lot of times. They don't set you up to be maximized if you're conservative. They set you up to be minimized. Yes, you can get on. Yes, you can have as long as you're under this 5 or 10 people and it's just inching along and inchworming along, oh, you're a nobody. You're not a player. But you get up there like the Jay Sekulows with huge audiences. You get up there like the Dennis Pregers, huge audiences. I can name countless others that have Facebook Live accounts. You get up there with a huge following, you start actually telling the truth too much and too determined, you fall underneath this algorithm. They start minimizing you. Your likes go down. Your visibility goes down. Your exposure goes down. Okay? So, the best thing you can do for me right now, if you're sitting on this page, take my page, take this live feed, and share it to your wall. Do it now. Say something or don't say something. I don't care. Click share. Yeah. So we got about 4 to 5 minutes left, and I want to wrap up this week and not omit my faith section, guys. So, Dennis Prager, yet another one of these that have been censored on YouTube. I don't know if he's been censored on Facebook. He has Prager University, guys. Look it up. I like and follow Dennis Prager on Facebook, and I get a lot of his stuff. He does what he calls Prager University. It's a lot of like apologetics for, which is proofs of Christ and faith and just societal benefit. He is a very, very staunch conservative. He educates people on history in this country, something you don't get out of your history books in school. He educates people with truth. And so he is front and center on this piece that we've got for my Truth Hour Faith segment. And guys, I believe in this a lot. I was talking to my best friend David about this just before we started. But, one can debate the actual splitting hairs of exactly what Mr. Prager discusses here about this being one of, if not the only, in first generation in history of mankind that is being raised godless. We can discuss that in more detail at some other time, but Dennis Prager makes a great point here, and I think we can listen. It's only about 10 or 15, 20 seconds, and we'll come back.
This is an experiment, may work out. I don't think so. But this is the first generation in the West. It is the first generation in human history, not just Western, that is being raised godless. No religion, no God, and the results, I believe, are the end of Western civilization as we know it. Not God punishing us, has nothing to do with divine intervention, but a wisdom-free generation, a generation that doesn't believe in any transcendent truth, will not survive.
So Dennis Prager right there. Dennis Prager right there. Stating something that I think we all should think about. And I see it, guys. I'm out there every day. I'm raising the next generation. I got 2 teenage boys. I got my daughter Cheyenne. She's in her early 20s, and thank the good Lord, she accepted Christ into her life. I personally baptized her when she was here in PA almost 2 years ago. My oldest son's baptized. I'm working on my youngest, trying to get him there. While I'm grateful for that process, I'm grateful that they are, embracing Christ and God early on in their lives. They've got a heck of a hill to climb coming out into their adult lives. Probably so much more than even my generation or the generations before me, guys. So Dennis Prager nails this. We are living in a society, and we're seeing the ramifications of that in the slow but sure degrading of the societal breakdown, the social net status. The family unit is disappearing as we know it. The covenant relationship in this country is being diluted and diminished and deleted. It's not even being embraced or even initialized in this country. Meaning what, Shane? Well, it's simple. A lot of people aren't even getting married. A lot of people aren't even going there. They're living in sin. They're living in, children are being born into unwed parents. Children are being born to children. I can attest to that. When Cheyenne was born, I was still a snot-nosed brat kid, still trying to figure it out. had no business having a child at the time, truth be told. Thank God that things turned out the way they did, and she's a healthy young adult that is doing her best, walking her faith, living her faith. But that doesn't negate the fact that she was born to two parents that weren't ready. That's the truth, and we didn't have God at the center of our life at the time. So that's a good point to be made. I mean, do we ever step back and think about that? We see all the worldly ramifications, but do we ever think of the spiritual ramifications for the demise of or the lack thereof of a Christian value, of morals, ethics, principles, Christ in our life? Do we ever step back and think about that? Well, I can tell you one thing, guys, before we close here, and we're right at 12, but Christ is the only reason I'm sitting here today. There's a lot of instances in my life that I made horrible mistakes. That I turned my back from God. I became a Christian when I was 15. Was on fire for Christ for the first few years of my Christian walk, probably to my early 20s. And then I just turned away from it. The world seemed more enticing. Doing and committing sin was more enticing. Getting into mischief and criminal activities was more enticing. Anything you could think of was more enticing, and I was horrible for that. I spent probably half of my adult life engaged in something other than what Christ would have called me to do. And I still don't have it figured out. I'll be 44 in a week. I'll be 44 years old, ladies and gentlemen, in a week. I'm still trying to figure it out, right? But let me tell you something. The only reason I'm any closer to figuring whatever that is out, and I know what it is because Christ defines what it is in His Word. And what it is salvation, and what it is being commissioned, and what it is a true sense and purpose that transcends anything the world can give you. True fulfillment and purpose in this life is underneath Christ's banner. There's no other way around it. And anything else that you find a sense of purpose in the world is temporary and is destined to fail and has a timeline. True sense and purpose in Christianity and Christ will live forever. You give your life to Christ, you submit to Him, you get washed in that watery grave of baptism. You come up a new child of God, a new creation, and you do your best to walk that. You're going to struggle. You're going to drop the baton. But how many times you get up, you re-embrace, you have a repentant heart, you ask for forgiveness, you extend grace to others, just as Christ did on the cross to you for your sins. So, is that true? Dennis Prager hits a good point. Are we living in the first generation that could be godless? What will that first generation that's possibly being raised godless, who will they raise? Will they raise another godless generation? Will that generation raise another godless generation? You know what the biggest effort and change is? The biggest change in the world starts with you. If you want and see and desire change in your personal life, in the world around you, in your community, in your state, in your country, it's not a big step. It's the small step. It starts with you. You change. You become the change. You become the solution, and you give your life to Christ. Turn over your life to Christ. Submit your life to Christ. Let your sins be forgiven by Christ. Nobody else can do it. No other religion can do it. There is only one true and living God. His Son came to this earth, walked amongst sinful man, took all of humanity's sin to the cross, shed His precious blood for you and for me, and that is the truth. So, we come to an end here. One of the worst times of my week. I hate the end of Truth Hour. I want to do it every week. I want to do it every day, right? Multiple hours. I love this. But you guys are the reason I get on here. Thank you for being such a passionate audience. Thank you for sharing my page. Thank you for caring enough to carve out an hour of your time. Thank you for the questions, the comments, the shares. Thank you for all of the reaching out. I'm not going to name names, but I've had audience members reach me personally via Facebook Messenger, ask and petition me for prayers on their behalf. I love that. Thank you very much for trusting me. It's humbling. And I entrust you to pray for me and my family. Thank you very much for being here today. Thank you for engaging with me today. Thank you for taking time out to dive into the truth today. And I will bring you another jam-packed session next week. There will never be a lack of evidence to prove our conservative case and our Christian values, guys. Stay true, stay right, get into Christ. If you need to know how to do that, I can help you do that as well. God bless. We'll see you down the road.
Something really wrong is going on.
What kind of a guys putting on?